Thank you. Okay, everyone ready? So good morning from my side as well. Thank you, Scholt, for giving me the opportunity to present my PhD thesis, respectively the concept for it, as I'm just right now about to start studying it. So I will give you a short overview of what I'm planning, and I'm grateful for any input afterwards of how I can advance my thoughts. So what is my background in education? I was a flight instructor for 13 years, and the last 5 years I was responsible for redesigning our readiness and training approach. And during that time I worked a lot in curriculum design and how do we have to set up our training to reach competencies at the end. So everything was derived from the competencies that we wanted to achieve at the end, and then we calculated back what we have to train in the beginning to build up to reach the competencies. The last 3 years I was working at a motorsport series. I was responsible for sourcing new pilots and training them afterwards. So not for the training itself, but for organizing it and giving the prerequisites. And I also applied the same principles that I had learned in the military. Now I would like to convert some of the learnings that I had in using the principle of deliberate practice, and I want to translate it to another field of education. And it's almost an abstract and not a title because it's that long, so I want to guide you through how I came to my title and the thesis and what I want to do. So I will first talk a bit about the problem, then about my approach to help mitigate the problem, and then a short overview about my research design. So the problem is inequality in education. PISA 2015 showed that the difference in science scores between the children who are in the 10% of the most advantaged students from their socio-economic background and the most disadvantaged students is a full 3 years of schooling when they reach 15. So, and of course that builds up gradually because they don't have the support from home when they enter school and everything. But it's a huge difference. So just imagine that you want to get a work in our knowledge worker area, but you have a 3 years backlog in with 15. So which jobs are left for you? What can you do? How does Austria fare in these studies? PISA 2018 showed that Austria had the 4th lowest probability for disadvantaged kids to finalize education at a university. So it's the 4th lowest probability of all the countries that took part in the PISA study. And the UNICEF rating also showed that Austria only ranked 29th of 34 countries in the difference between the top and bottom 10% of 15-year-old in reading skills. So Austria is not doing all too good, especially for kids with a low socioeconomic status. In the middle pack, we are about in the middle of the PISA countries, but we are doing very badly for the people with a very low socioeconomic status. Of course, this is a huge problem, and it will take tons of effort in the whole society to make it better. So I want to focus on one approach that was also mentioned in the studies, how this can be mitigated, and that is by people in local communities providing after-school remedial support for the students in need. And so this is what needs to be done and how should it be done. And now I come to this theory of deliberate practice that was set up by Ericsson. Ericsson started with research on how does someone who is considered an expert in whatever field it is it chess, is it sports, is it medicine, is it in the military, how do they train to reach that level of professional expertise? And he came up with this deliberate practice where he said this is the kind of practice that all of them that reach that master a level, all of them are doing essentially the same type of practice. And so when we have a look at where this practice needs to be, it needs to be here. It needs to be right outside your comfort zone. The comfort zone is everything that you know and do without having to invest a lot of effort to do it. That's what you have automated. Yeah? Where yesterday we talked about understanding. This is something where you feel at home, what you can do. Outside of the comfort zone, there is the learning zone. This is what is new for you, where you have to think about it, where you have to consciously take an effort to complete the task. And if you're going even further away from your comfort zone, you reach the panic zone. This is where you have no idea how you can do that task, and where you're completely panicking because it's so far away from what you know or what you are able to do that you panic. So in aviation, don't go there. You don't want to bring your students into the panic zone. This is where it gets really dangerous. So this is why it's also used a lot in aviation, because you want to train gradually and always keep the student in the learning zone and never throw him into a situation that he doesn't know. So it's right outside of the comfort zone, building up on established skills, because the more you link it to already established skills, the easier it is to learn it. And this is what I tried to symbolize here. It has to be derived from an overall goal. And then you are producing a scaffolding to build up to reach this skill or this competency afterwards. This is what we also heard yesterday from the connected curriculum. How do you have to design your curriculum that you reach the desired skill level in the end and to have the competency? And then you have to break it down into small and manageable tasks, and you really focus on a very small portion of what you want to learn. And you're getting immediate feedback by a very experienced coach. And the coach is constantly assessing, where are you right now? He has to assess and diagnose what is your current level. And he has to set the overall goal of what you want to achieve next, and then divide it into the subparts and give immediate feedback. So you do it, you get feedback. You do it again, you get feedback. So you constantly improve on the task, and it builds up. Of course, you need a lot of repetition that you make it your own, that you can really master it. It is conscious focus. Yeah, you really have to focus on that thing. It is, if you compare work and play, it is work. It is for sure not play. It is very intense. It's linked a bit to what we heard yesterday about where flow happens. If it's too easy, it's not there, and if it's too difficult, it's also not there because you are panicking. So it's somewhere in that area. And only then, when you do a lot of repetition, when we are gaining more and more of knowledge or skill, then this will motivate you. This is the fire burning inside you that you're doing all this, because this is not fun as it is, because it's very hard training. You have to be very focused. So the motivation is derived from this incremental learning, that you're always learning more and more, and you see that your skills are building up, that it pays out to do these lots of repetitions. So maybe later on we can discuss how this is linked to Mozart and what we heard yesterday, where he was, and where suddenly when your comfort zone builds up like that, and you can now suddenly combine everything, then you can be creative. So, and this approach is already used in education. It's an initiative in Canada. It's called Jump Math. It's operating according to the mantra, every child can learn math and love it. And they are structuring the syllabus exactly like it is done in Deliberate Practice. So very small steps so that everyone can reach it. So, and they only move on to the next step when everyone has mastered the concepts. The better ones get additional tasks, but for the same principle. So they get bonus levels, but everyone is reaching the minimum level. The heart of the program is also a teacher's resource section, so everything is super well structured because it was also started as a remedial course and only later on was moved to schools that adapted that approach, and 150,000 people in Canada are now training according to this approach. And they said there are 10 barriers, so they identified 10 barriers for disadvantaged students, why they don't understand math. And they found a solution, a scientific solution, how these people with the low socio-economic status still can achieve the goals. So it's everything derived from deliberate practice. So small incremental goals, they see that they can succeed. They see that if they put in a lot of repetition, that they get better and that they are not left behind but catching up. Also the fourth one, skipping over it to the research design. So of course it's a very long chain, and I know that this is the complicated thing about it, but the research has to be thought from the end. So how does this training have to be conducted that the kids really get the most out of it and that they make up what they are behind when they start school? So how does it have to be conducted? And then of course, how do you have to train the coaches? So what do they really need? Of course, you cannot just tell them what to do, because then also the training of the coaches wouldn't be according to deliberate practice, but you have to define which essential competencies do these coaches need, and then design a training syllabus for them to reach these competencies. Always with the problem that those are volunteers and they don't have a lot of time. So I think you will need to think about this statement of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry that said perfection is not when you cannot add anything more, it's when you cannot cut anything more. So you really have to keep it super compact that even volunteers can reach the competencies that you need for this kind of training. And then of course everything goes back to creating the theoretical model and really analyzing everything that is out there, going into the details of what does it take to reach professional expertise, what are the standards in education, which initiatives are already out there that work. So take the things that work, because then most probably they will have the same theoretical framework. And yeah, this will be the creative part of getting into the details of everything and then creating a structured model that takes the best from all these fields to, in the end, achieve the goal to help the kids catch up what the disadvantages that they have because of their socio-economic status. Yeah, there's a quick summary of the thesis and the talk. Thank you.